In the close-knit Lakewood neighborhood on Jacksonville, Florida's South Side, a vibrant 8-year-old girl named Maddie Clifton, lovingly known as Maddie, brought light to everyone around her. Living with her parents, Steve and Sheila, and her older sister Jessie, Maddie was a whirlwind of energy and talent. Her days were filled with outdoor activities, shooting baskets, kicking soccer balls, or perfecting her golf swing. Beyond sports, she excelled in dance, performing as a poised ballerina, and showed a natural gift for the piano, filling her home with music. But what truly defined Maddie was her extraordinary kindness. From a young age, she had an uncanny ability to notice anyone who seemed lonely or out of place, approaching them with a warm smile and an invitation to join in. Her family often said she couldn't bear to see anyone left out. On the afternoon of November 3, 1998, Maddie was outside in her Lakewood neighborhood, as she often was, practicing her golf swing by hitting balls up and down the quiet street. Lakewood was the kind of place where neighbors knew each other by name, and kids roamed freely, playing together until dusk. Maddie was a familiar sight, knocking on doors to rally other children for games. At around 6:30 p.m., Sheila called Maddie and Jessie inside for dinner. Jessie walked in alone, casually mentioning she hadn't been with Maddie and didn't know where she was. This wasn't immediately alarming. Maddie was often with friends, but when Sheila checked with neighbors and other kids, no one had seen her. Maddie, last spotted wearing shorts and a red t-shirt, had vanished. Concern quickly turned to panic. By 7 p.m., Sheila called 911, her voice trembling as she described her daughter. Her name is Maddie Clifton. She's 8 years old. She was playing right around the house. Last seen between 4:30 and 5:30 p.m., the operator pressed for details, but there were none. No witnesses, no clues. The neighborhood sprang into action. As night fell and temperatures dropped, residents grabbed flashlights and began searching, their voices echoing through the streets, calling Maddie's name. To the community, Maddie was more than just a neighbor's daughter. She was everyone's friend, a child who connected people with her infectious spirit. By the next morning, the search had grown into a massive effort. The National Guard was called in, combing through sewers, dumpsters, and manhole covers, while volunteers scoured miles of nearby woodlands and ponds. The FBI joined the investigation, and a $100,000 reward was offered for information leading to Maddie's return. Neighbors opened their homes to searches, desperate to find any trace of the little girl. The absence of clues, no clothing, no belongings, frustrated everyone. One resident described the scene as almost circus-like, with nearly every person not at work or school out looking for Maddie. Suspicion briefly fell on a neighbor named Larry, who lived 5 doors down from the Cliftons. Larry told police he'd been chipping golf balls in his yard around 5 p.m. and saw Maddie doing the same nearby. He said she walked off to retrieve more balls and didn't return. Larry cooperated fully, offering samples and enduring 10 interviews, one lasting 8 hours. His past arrests for sexual battery, though charges were dropped, raised red flags. He admitted to failing a lie detector test, but insisted he had nothing to hide. "I'm a prime suspect," he told police. "I'm 45, I play with kids, and I have a record." Despite the scrutiny, no evidence linked him to Maddie's disappearance, and after 4 days, the police shifted their focus to leads outside the neighborhood. Across the street from the Cliftons lived 14-year-old Joshua Phillips, a quiet boy who often played with Maddie and other neighborhood kids. On November 10th, 7 days after Maddie vanished, Joshua's mother, Missy, decided to tidy his cluttered bedroom. She'd noticed a strange smell for days, which she attributed to a leak in his waterbed. As she began cleaning, she spotted a wet patch on the bed frame. Lifting the mattress to investigate, she found a small sock caught in the structure. Kneeling down to inspect further, Missy froze in horror. A small foot was visible beneath the frame. Her mind reeled, unable to process what she was seeing. In a panic, she ran outside, flagged down a police officer, and led him to the room. Within minutes, the Phillips home was a crime scene. Investigators confirmed the unthinkable. Maddie's decomposing body was hidden beneath Joshua's waterbed, her hand clutching the frame as if reaching out. The autopsy revealed a brutal truth: Maddie had been beaten with a baseball bat, stabbed multiple times in the throat and chest, and stuffed under the bed. Her shorts and underwear were found nearby, but there was no evidence of sexual assault. The bat and knife used in the attack lay in plain sight in Joshua's room. Police had searched the house days earlier and noted the odd smell, but attributed it to Joshua's pet birds. News of the discovery spread like wildfire, shattering the Lakewood community. Neighbors gathered in an impromptu prayer circle, holding each other as tears fell. A televised press conference confirmed Maddie's death, with Sheriff Nat Glover struggling to maintain composure. "We found Maddie Clifton this morning at about 7:30 a.m. She was dead," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. The neighborhood felt suffocated by grief, the air thick with sorrow. Photos from that day captured the weight of the lost residents standing in stunned silence, clutching missing person flyers that now served as memorials. Maddie's funeral on November 14th was a testament to her impact. Streets were lined with mourners holding hands, yellow flowers trailing behind cars, and purple balloons floating skyward. A memorial playground was later built at Maddie's school, a fitting tribute to a girl who loved playing and bringing others together. Retired prosecutor Bernie Della Rienda, reflecting years later, called it one of Jacksonville's most horrific murders. "Everyone was talking about it," he said. "When a child goes missing and is found dead, it touches every heart." At the police station, urged by his father, Steve, to tell the truth, Joshua confessed. He said Maddie knocked on his door to play, as she often did. He agreed to a quick game of baseball in his backyard, but was anxious about his father, whom he described as a violent alcoholic who enforced strict rules. Joshua claimed that during their game he hit a ball that struck Maddie in the face, causing her to bleed and scream. Panicked and fearing his father's wrath, he dragged her inside, where some of her clothes came off. To silence her, he struck her head with a bat, knocking her unconscious, and hid her under his bed. When his father returned home, Joshua acted normal. Later, hearing Maddie groaning, he pulled her out, cut her throat twice, and stabbed her chest 7 times before hiding her again. The prosecution found Joshua's story inconsistent. There was no blood or dirt in the backyard or leading to his room, and the autopsy didn't support his claim of hitting Maddie in the eye. They suggested he lured her inside with harmful intent, noting he had been viewing pornography beforehand. In 1999, due to intense publicity in Jacksonville, Joshua's trial was moved to another county. At 15, he was tried as an adult for first-degree murder. His defense argued the death was an accident escalated by panic, driven by fear of his abusive father. The prosecution countered that the brutality and lack of physical evidence in the backyard pointed to premeditation. The jury found Joshua guilty of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life without parole. At 15, he became inmate number J11775. The verdict brought little closure to a community still grappling with the loss of Maddie and the shock that a seemingly normal boy could commit such a crime. Joshua was described as a quiet, well-mannered 14-year-old who did well in school, loved his pet birds, and spent time reading or on his computer. Neighbors and teachers were stunned, with no prior indications of violent behavior. His school principal noted students repeating his name in disbelief. Josh. A neighbor who let his son play with Joshua called him respectful, always saying, "Yes, sir, no, sir." Maddie's mother, Sheila, had never sensed anything amiss about Joshua, trusting him as a playmate for her daughter. Joshua later claimed his father, Steve, was abusive, particularly toward him and his mother, and had a particular dislike for girls. Missy, Joshua's mother, confirmed the strict household rules and her fear of Steve's temper. She recalled Joshua being slightly quieter during the week Maddie was missing, but attributed it to typical teenage moodiness and the stress of a missing friend. Chillingly, a police officer had spoken to Joshua in his bedroom during the search, with Maddie's body hidden beneath him. He was cool as a cucumber, the officer later said, haunted by the memory. In 2012, a Supreme Court ruling deemed mandatory life sentences for juveniles unconstitutional, prompting a resentencing hearing for Joshua in 2017. Now in his 30s, he spoke directly to Maddie's family. Expressing remorse, "I don't pretend to understand your pain or the void I've created. I've seen dark things in prison and come close to ending my life. I'm so sorry for what happened." Maddie's family shared their anguish. Sheila spoke of the milestones Maddie would never reach: graduation, marriage, grandchildren stolen by one evil, senseless act. Jessie described the pain of living without her sister, whose room in their childhood home remained a sacred space. Joshua was resentenced to life with a review possible after 25 years. In 2025, At age 41, he requested another review, having completed his mandatory term. Court documents filed in mid-2025 outlined his request for an individualized sentencing review, citing his time served and rehabilitation efforts. The process remains ongoing, with Maddie's family forced to relive their trauma at each hearing. Bernie de la Dinda, preparing for a potential review, expressed sympathy for the Cliftons. "I'm so sorry they have to go through this again." Maddie's loss reshaped Lakewood. Jessie struggled with her identity. No longer just Jessie, but Maddie's sister, navigating grief while trying to grow into her own person. The Cliftons' marriage crumbled after 25 years, with Sheila and Steve handling their grief differently. Sheila eventually moved out, unable to stay in the house filled with memories. Jessie described the pain of adjusting to setting the table for 3, then 2, instead of 4. Missy Phillips faced her own heartbreak. 2 years after Joshua's conviction, her husband died in a car crash. She withdrew from society, splitting time between Jacksonville and North Central Florida. Yet Jessie, embodying Maddie's kindness, reached out, helping Missy with small tasks like carrying groceries or walking her dog. "She's a sweet person who didn't deserve this," Jessie said. Finding Maddie under her son's bed, "I can't imagine that." Sheila and Missy, bound by shared sorrow, sometimes sat together at early court hearings, understanding each other's pain as mothers. District Attorney Harry Shorstein and Sheriff Nat Glover later expressed mixed feelings about Joshua's life sentence. Shorstein stood by the adult charge and first-degree murder conviction but regretted not offering a second-degree murder plea, which could have allowed judicial discretion. He called the sentence draconian and supported reconsideration for parole, though not immediate release. Maddie's story is a poignant reminder of innocence lost. Her selflessness knocking on Joshua's door to ensure he wasn't alone makes her death even more tragic. She was a beacon of joy, connecting her community through play and compassion. The unanswered why lingers, as does the pain for those who loved her. As Jessie said, standing in Maddie's childhood room feels like coming home, a bittersweet connection to a sister whose light still shines in their hearts. If the story moved you, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell icon to get updates of new cases. Until then, stay safe, stay vigilant,